When's a better time than now? If not now, when? If not you, then who? Hey, friends, excited to show you where you're at in the game. We're going to have a blast today, but more than that, we're going to get crystal clear on the game. I'm going to show you something when we're diving into what I call the 6 generations of George, a nod to the late, great George Foreman. If you haven't seen Big George Foreman, go check it out. The 2-time heavyweight champ who named all his sons George. Yep, even the last one. And today, it's not about George, it's about you. Because life's a lot like a game. And whether you're in pregame warm-up or deep in the fourth quarter, your ability to build wealth and leave a legacy starts right now where you are at. Not someday, but today. We're going to break it down simply, Sipple style, and show you how your age affects your maximum insurability, your human life value, and your opportunity to bank on yourself for the rest of your life. So the real question is, where are you in the game of life? So let's find out. So where are you in the game of life? Much like football, I always like to use the analogy. If you're 15 days old and just got your Social Security, or you're under up to 20, under 20, I like to say you're in the pregame. You're in the portion of life of the game where you might not even be aware there's a game. You're still developing. You're still going from being a dependent to an independent. You're still really feeling your oats. You're really getting comfortable with who you are. And you might be training for the game. Someone might make you aware there's a game, or you might be completely clueless, like many of us were before we found out, wait a minute, the game we thought it was wasn't actually what we thought it was. And then you have your first quarter. Your first quarter is when you're in your 20s and your 30s. Your first quarter is a time of discovery for some. It's a time of really finding out what you love, what you're going to be passionate about, what problem are you going to solve as a builder in this society, as someone that's adding more value than they take. That's your 20s and 30s. That's the first quarter. Your 40s are going to be your second quarter, right? Your 40s, actually 41 to 50 to get specific, is the second quarter. And when I designed this, I was like, I want to be in the second quarter. I don't want to be at halftime already. So I might have, moved the numbers around a little bit to make myself in the second quarter versus 50 years old like I am today. And then halftime, the time to really reset, the time to see how your playbook is going, see how the plays you're running, are they working against the defense? Are you setting yourself up for success? Is there something you can optimize? What have you done well? What could you do better? That's halftime. That's going to be 51 to 60. Now, 61 to 70, that's going to be the third quarter. There's not as much time left, but there's still time to win the game. And then you've seen all the athletes, right? No matter any sport, right? They get to the end, they're either holding up a fist or holding up 4. Like, there's game time. Let's go. This is where all the work, the persistence, the patience, this is where all of the behind the scenes, the stuff you don't see on the field happens. It happens in the fourth quarter. So if you're wondering to yourself, if that's a question you came in with today, am I too old? I've covered this before. The answer is most likely you're not. 76, 77, 78 and above, you're in overtime. You might still be able to participate in whole life insurance, but the specially engineered will no longer be available. So just understand what the timeline is, right? Whether you're 15 days old with your new Social Security or you're 76 and anything in between, you're not too old to play in this game of specially engineered whole life. So let's go into this a little deeper. I promised you spreadsheets. I don't like them. Not a lot, but I ran this the other day and I showed this to Patty and she was like, oh my God, Mia Moore, I get it now. I get it. I love how you guys are putting what quarter you're in. What a great call that is. Put what quarter you're in. Look at this. So I made some simple assumptions because it's math. These were actually illustrations run where I hold all 4 of my family banking policies. One of our mutually owned dividend paying whole life companies, profitable every year, well over 100 years. Yes, Jason, we hear you say that all the time, but it's critically important. Everything we say, because when I left them out, I get like Mary Jo Irma calling me out, saying, Jason, you can't just say permanent whole life. You have to say Permanent whole life insurance that's from a mutually owned dividend paying company that's been profitable for over 100 years. We want to make sure that when we're building your foundation, we're not making you wealthy. We're building your foundation so you can be wealthy if you choose. So, looking at the game here, I assumed that this individual is going to make $100,000 all the way from 18 years old all the way to 71. I also assumed that they were going to pay themselves first and they were going to save $10,000 a year, $10,000 annually. They could save 20%. That might even be better than 10%, depending on what their expenses, what their lifestyle is, all of those things. I talked to the one guy, I mentioned it to you guys, that was paying himself 50%. So again, it's all going to be specially engineered based on your life, but your job right here, right now, if not now, when, is to weigh in, is to take stock of where you're at so you can get clear. If you're watching this, participating in this, where are you? Tell yourself, write it down, tell someone else, how much are you making today? What is 10% of that? And are you saving that much? Then what I did is said, okay, well, if you believe what I believe, the wealthy have more choices. So I just put the premium deposit total per year based on 10% was 10 grand. Everyone follow me so far? So whether you're in the pregame, first quarter, second quarter, halftime, third quarter, or fourth quarter, we're putting in the same amount of premium deposits annually, whether it's paid monthly, quarterly, semi-annually. Remember, there's 4 different modes of payment, and you can actually change them every year. That is a critical piece of designing. And now look what's really interesting with this. I don't know if you guys are seeing what I want to show you, but look at the difference in death benefits. I'm going to look over to the right so I can read these numbers with you. But when I'm looking at an 18-year-old that puts a $10,000 a year premium deposit, now this is designed as the Nelson Nash model of 60% going towards the cash value and 40% going towards the base, which is the cost of whole life. Also, it is the long-term growth plan for this individual as well. And when you look at what $10,000 a year buys a healthy, standard, non-tobacco 18-year-old. And that made him male, by the way. Females' numbers would even be better. So I guess I based it off myself, made myself younger, older, and just said, hey, I'm going to make the same amount all these years. Standard non-tobacco, don't smoke, never have, had asthma as a kid, don't do it, right? So what if you do, okay, but it's going to affect your money, just so you know. So 18 years old, it's going to give them almost $500,000 of death benefit. But look at this cash value, $6,900 in the first year, okay? $6,900. First quarter at 31 years old. Now that $10,000 at 31 buys almost $140,000, $150,000 less. Now he's getting $346,000, and the total cash is the same because the health is the same. There's no more risk to the insurance company. Think about your partner when I'm teaching you this. If you're having a partnership, don't you want your partnership to be healthy too? Don't you want a healthy partner that's going to stick around and be profitable for another 148 years or another 200 years? Yes, we all want that. That's why we want to be an owner, and it's a privilege to be an owner. And then we go into the second quarter from 41 to 50 at 41 years old, that $10,000 now buys 264,000 and change of guaranteed death benefit. And it's going to give you a cash value of a little over $7,000. And then I went to halftime at 51. Now that 10,000 buys you 197,000. And somebody might be thinking, well, Jason, that's interesting. Why, if I put the same amount in, is it buy me less death benefit? Well, remember, if you guys know, pop in the chat. How are life insurance companies looking at the death benefit? Remember, when we put money in the premium deposit cup, it buys something. What does it buy immediately? It buys you death benefit. And then we design it so you have a cash value component. So you're saving, you're spending their money, the insurance company's money, and you have a guaranteed tax-free estate. But why are they giving us this life insurance? Why are they giving us more life insurance younger? What's the reason? Does anyone know? It's not just age, Felix. That's a component of it. What is the true thing they're looking at? Think back a couple hundred years ago to when these mutually owned companies started. They're doing it because they're protecting the whole society. They're protecting the society by protecting the providers, the ones that are protecting, providing, and procreating, the one that's going out and earning, the one that is getting the life insurance on their body. Like they're able to get life insurance because of their habits and their behaviors and the things make them a good partner. But it is nothing more than a replacement of their earning potential. It is a replacement of their earning potential so that family can get back on their feet, so that family can go learn the new skills or put this money to work or do whatever they need to do, but they don't have to be stressed and worried and struggling when that person graduates, when the provider, when, like, say, if I die, my family's going to be taken care of more than anyone else has ever set it up in the Sipple family. And I'm very proud of that. And I also want to make sure that they're being educated on what to do with that money should they receive a tax-free estate. You know, I had some guy almost run me down on my bike today, this morning, upset because he did something really silly and then got really upset because I'm a cyclist. And things happen, right? We never know when they're going to happen. I'm okay. Nothing happened. It's all good. But just know that that is set up by the life insurance company to provide and protect society, to provide and protect you. That is their agreement with us. Their agreement is that they're going to give us a guaranteed growth rate that's contractual, a guaranteed death benefit, and guaranteed level premiums. And what do we get? We get that protection. We get those three things. We give them premium deposits. They know how long we're going to live. Creepy, I know, but true. That's what this table is based on. And I think I was at basically at halftime. So now go into the third quarter. You're at 10,000 a year. You get 160,000 in death benefit. But look, your cash value is pretty close, within $500. Now in the fourth quarter, I did have to engineer a little different, use a little different rider. Now it'll vary from company to company as well, but I did 10,000 a year. They got $99,000 in death benefit and $6,146 in cash value. Remember, this is all 60/40, same design, same earned income, paying themselves the same 10% and the same health. So you can see that the variance is less than $1,000 in cash value. So when we tell you that your age doesn't really affect your cash value, this is a visual that shows you this 6 generations of George. Remember, he's got 5 kids in this game, and then he can maybe have some of his daughters, which I heard someone say today that he might have named him Georgina. I did not look that up. I did not check that out. If you guys know, that would be it. And Shane, yes, that is the answer. It is the working years. It is your ability to earn an income, to create, to be a creator. So why does this matter to you, right? Like, why is this important? So what did you learn from what I just broke down? What did you just learn from breaking this game down like a football game? If you hate football, you can use basketball. You can use any game with quarters. You're following. Life insurance is simple. Infinite banking is also simple. You pay a premium deposit. It buys you something. It buys you a guaranteed death benefit. When designed properly by an infinite banking certified practitioner that knows what you want, it's also going to give you cash value. So what is this about today? It's about knowing that you're not too old to get on the field. It's about planning for the inevitable day. And like I joke around, nobody here yet has shown me, now I believe that they're out there, but nobody has shown me an immortal. It's not like Highlander where there can be only one and they have to go take each other's heads with swords. If you guys are going back to the 90s with me, I made my kids and Patty watch that one day and they're like, what in the world is this? This is horrible. It's creating that tax-free legacy. So now the government isn't all up in your business. You don't got legal involved, and it's protecting the people and the things that you love. It's a safety net. It's a legacy plan. It's a financial tool all rolled into one. Now, of course, the younger you are, the more that you're earning, the more that you can have for death benefit, the more legacy you're leaving. But remember, you still have a whole lifetime to work towards that. So one of my thoughts as I was designing the 6 generations of George is maybe I'm not giving the best advice when I'm telling folks that they should pay themselves 10%. Maybe depending on where you're at in the game, you should look to put a little bit more in because you're depending on what you're trying to accomplish because you have less time. You have less time in the game in far as quarters go to be able to participate. And that's it. If you can start earlier, it's always better. And Shane, you're like reading my mind. You're reading my mind when I go into this. And so here's another thing that people get a little lost in. And it's okay. It's normal. Like, it sounds like an awful thing. Human life value by age. What does that mean? You guys know? You guys know, pop it in the chat. Felix, I know you're working on this, so you might know what this means. I don't love this term, but like everything in life insurance, it's pretty practical. It's talking about what I just talked about, where it is an amount of replacement dollars based on how much you earn and how much working years that you have ahead of you. That's it. And if you're going to be a future partner with a mutually owned dividend paying company, don't you think it's important that you know what your insurability is? How much of this cash rich, specially engineered for your family life insurance can you have? It's pretty simple. Take, again, I used 100,000 annually, but take your number and plug it in there. Take your number later on and then see how old you are. And this is how I can tell someone on a call when they tell me where they're at in life, what quarter they're at. I can say, oh, you can carry this much insurance. And they're like, oh, well, I want to do this. Well, let's see if you could qualify for that much. I don't make the rules. And this includes all of your life insurance across all different carriers in all forms, whether it's term, whether you have an IUL or a VUL. But when we're talking about infinite banking, we're only talking about specially engineered whole life for your entire life. Simple to a degree. That's it. So when you look at if you're less than 40, it's 30 times what you're earning. $3 million would be a 30-year-old or yeah, a 30-year-old making 100,000. For someone that's my age, 50 or 41 making 100,000, they can be insured up to 2 million. You guys following? And gals, halftime 51 to 60, 15 times 1.5 million. Third quarter 61 to 70, 10x. Okay, and now it's a million, right? You're making 100,000 times 10, a million. Fourth quarter 71 to 76, 5 times. Now you're making 500,000, or not making, you have a death benefit of 500,000. So depending on what your premium deposit is, depending on the design, depending on all the other variables, we know that that's the max life insurance or your human life value. That's how insurance companies calculate the risk and the capacity. Again, when Patty saw this, I had this on one spreadsheet. She's like, "Oh my God, I hear you talk about this all the time, but I didn't get it. I get it now." And so I was hoping that you guys either you're going to get it in this moment, a light bulb goes on, and it's like one of those cartoons, or it depends. It includes everything, Shane. So if you have a term rider, anything you have as your maximum death benefit, this is why you have to go find other insurable interests when, like Nelson talks about, when you reach the point where the insurance company won't give you any more insurance, you have to go find other insurable interests, whether that is potentially siblings, spouse, your kids, right? Your children, not your adult kids working. That can be difficult. But you can do it still. There's always ways. You can be creative. You're only limited by your imagination to a degree. And so when we're looking at whether you're 15 days old and just got your social, you're 18 or 75, the specially engineered whole life insurance is a valuable banking tool. It's more valuable as a banking tool than it is as a legacy tool, but why not have your cake and eat it too? But here's why. You're getting a guarantee growth on the cash value no matter when you get in the game. You receive uninterrupted compounding interest even while you're using the money. Again, depending on the company, but even while you're using the money, you're getting the full cash value, guaranteed growth, and most likely receiving a dividend. You're earning the dividends. Again, not guaranteed, but all the companies we work with, all 5 of them have never, ever missed. So while I'm not a gambler, I feel pretty good about those odds. And then you create a tax-free estate that's also guaranteed. And unlike term insurance or IULs, you're building something that you can use while you're alive. Something that is guaranteed, something that's not tied to a market, that doesn't have fluctuation, that you're not essentially gambling, if that makes sense. And so if you're new here, you guys know what to do. Smash the like button, subscribe, ring the bell. As Connor Patrick likes to say, it just might turn orange, new color, and alert you to all the new content. Spread the IBC message. Everyone deserves an invitation to the infinite banking bus. Again, this is simple. It's not complicated, but for some reason, because it's such a paradigm shift, it's such a backwards bicycle, we get stuck. And it's okay. If you're stuck, you just don't get it yet. At some point, you either got to jump in or you stay on the sidelines training. So, love this quote. A couple quotes here. Page 85 of Nelson's book. He talks about your need for finance during your lifetime will far exceed your need for life insurance. In today's society, in the game we're playing, I know because I've had thousands of these conversations. People that are paying them, even people that are paying themselves first, they tell me all the time, my money is just not going as far as it used to, Jason. I feel tight. I feel afraid. I'm worried. I'm worried about the future. I'm worried about whatever they're hearing in the news, all the noise, all the chatter. I'm worried about the market. I'm worried about my crypto. I'm worried about whatever. Why be worried when you can control the game? When you know that you can control the game, when you know that you are the one that takes radical ownership, extreme ownership, and you say, hey, it's up, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. And if I had $1 for every time I heard someone say, I wish I would have learned. Anybody feel like this? Give me an I in the chat. I wish I had known about this 10 years, 20 years, 30 years ago. Thank you, Julie. So many eyes, right? We all wish we would have known about this sooner. I hear it all the time. I wish I knew sooner. And the reality is, you find the teacher when you're ready for the lesson. The only reason no one here started earlier because you weren't ready. So give yourself a pass. Give yourself a pat in the back. It's okay if you didn't start earlier. But if you didn't plant the tree 20 years ago, as a Chinese proverb said, when do you got to plant the tree? Now, now. Not tomorrow, not in a month. You don't need 3 1-hour conversations with me to know that you have to do this. When you know, you know. When you know what's happening, you'll know what to do. Nelson says something along those lines as well. And I refer to the man all the time because without ever meeting him, he's my mentor to this day. This book is your guidance. Your mentor is not always someone that you're going to meet in person. It is the wisdom, the years of research and thinking that are there to guide you today. If you're looking for the light, looking for the truth, check this book out. I've had friends read this and say, hey, I didn't like it. Cool. Don't be attached if someone loves this or not. Be attached to their outcome. Be attached to wanting to help them and doing your best. And again, starting at any age. My question for any of you who haven't started, I know who has here, I know your names, but anyone who's watching this who hasn't started yet, why haven't you started your journey yet? Share it in the chat. Maybe someone can support you. Maybe there's a fear you have that you haven't asked me, haven't asked Patty, but why haven't you started? You're here because of the financial system in the US. You're starting to see that it's not for us. It's not for us, it's for them. And them being Wall Street, big banks, and the government. And that might seem like I have a little tinfoil hat on, but I do believe that's the truth. I believe that we're being stripped of our wealth slowly and surely over time. And, every time they do it, we're like, oh, it's going to get better later because we're all remain hopeful. We all have our dreams, our vision. I'm going to tell you guys a super cool story here in a moment that I heard years ago. And I was like, wow. Like when you get a little lost, if you remember the story I'm about to share, you're going to know what to do. And if you haven't started infinite banking, what's your vision? Why are you starting it if you are starting? Think about Big George Foreman in the movie. When he found out about boxing and he found out about the Olympics, his eyes got this big at 19 years old. He's like, I want to go there and I'm going to beat those guys and I'm going to win gold. And his coach is like, okay, George, we'll train you and maybe you'll be ready in 4 years. He's like, 4 years? Forget it, man. I'm going to be ready by next year. And he was, and he won gold. I think it was in Mexico City. And he knocked out the Russian. I think he TKO'd him. He won gold a year after setting that vision, a year and a half after learning about the sport of boxing. That's nuts. And then at some point, Big George was called to faith, called to ministry, called to speaking the word. And he did that because he believed that was it. And he built his youth center. And then he was broke again because money didn't happen the way and he didn't take time to learn about it. If you watch it, the lesson I saw from George, He didn't take time to take ownership of it. He gave it to someone else, to a friend, and the friend lost everything. Now, some of the facts are changed a little bit, so I know it's not factual, but the story is there. The story is very common and very relatable for each of us. And then he decided, he heard it again, you're going to be the heavyweight champion of the world. And his wife told him, hey, you're going to be the heavyweight champ again. And he said, I'm going to do it differently. I'm not going to do it angry. I'm not going to do it from fear, from anger, from wanting to hurt. I'm going to do it to serve. It's much different. And then he did it again. 20 plus years later, he was embarrassed to take off his robe because he was so roly-poly. Man, that guy could punch. And he was crystal clear. The reason I'm sharing George's story is because he was crystal clear. He made decisions and he went for it, for whatever it was. Was he perfect? Definitely not. 5 marriages, 12 kids, but he is a story worth celebrating on our human journey. He was willing to fall down. He was willing to fail. But guess what? You guys don't have to fail at this. You have a team. You have the support. You have the guidance. You have the knowledge. It's time to take the ownership of it. Controlling your financial future is about controlling your money. It's about the guarantees. It's about asking yourself, what am I trying to accomplish? And then maybe you give yourself an answer. You say, what's so good about that? Like, I want to serve 10 million fathers and their families to inspire, educate, and prepare. What's so good about that, Jason? And I started digging on that. I'm like, what is so good about that? Well, if that happens, when that happens, I will know that other people aren't suffering the way I was about money. They're not feeling like they're letting everyone down all the time, that they're scared, that they don't feel like themselves because there's always this thing that they're afraid of. That's what's so good about that. And then peel it another layer. What's so good about that? And I could go on, but I might cry. So I'm not going to. But anyhow, be intentional. Plant the seeds now. And then you go to here's the story I promised. So you might have heard this. Hip hop preacher Eric T does it way better than I do. But he talks about how there was a guru. And the guru was there and his presence was powerful. And a young man tells the guru, Guru, I want to make a lot of money. The guru said, okay, meet me by the lake tomorrow at 4 a.m. And the kid goes, or the man goes, Guru, I don't want to learn to swim. Did you hear me? I want to make a lot of money. Meet me at 4. So the next day, the young man shows up. He's standing on the shore of the lake, and the guru comes and holds his hand. He said, now you're going to show me how to make money, Guru? What do I need to do? And the guru says, we're going to take a walk into the water. Now, mind you, I don't know why, but the young man didn't wear a bathing suit. He's going to a lake. He didn't wear like beach attire. He was in a suit. He wanted to look the part of someone who's going to make a lot of money. Because I guess that's what it looks like when you make a lot of money. So the guru took him by the hands and he walked him out to his waist in the water. And the young man's like, Guru, I'm not here to learn how to swim. I know how to swim. I want to make money. And the guru just looked at him calmly and sat in the moment. And he walked out a little deeper and he pulled the young man out with him. Now they go up to about their shoulders in the water. And the guru suddenly, swiftly grabbed the young man's head and he dunks it underwater. And the arms are coming up and the young man's struggling and he can't come up. And the guru's holding him down. And he's underwater for a minute. And he's still underwater and he's struggling. And when he comes out, the guru asks him, young man, what were you thinking about when you were underwater? I just wanted to breathe, Guru. Yes. Anything else? No, I just wanted to breathe. I was scared. I wanted to breathe. And he said, that's it. When you want success as bad as you want to breathe, you'll know what to do. And a lot of you that have been around the campfire a lot of you who've watched hundreds of hours of myself and my peers, you're not hearing me. You're not seeing the cost of not getting in the game. You're around it and you want to do it, but it's just kind of noise to you. You don't want it as much as you want to breathe. And if you're not hearing the words to your heart, if you're not hearing to your soul that you have to want this as bad as you want to breathe, then maybe you're not ready. You have to want that freedom more than anything. You have to want to provide and protect and create for your family more than for yourself, for God, more than anything. It's not just noise. It's not a cool thing. It's not a group. Now, it is a community, but it's not just a group. It's not the infinite banking concept community. It's not like you get some trophy for having the most policies or you get some award for being financially free. It's the feeling. And that feeling is the desire to breathe and have certainty that you're going to be okay. What's your takeaway from that? Are you a little clearer now on how bad you have to want this? Remember, we're not just building wealth, we're building legacy, process, behavior, something that we can teach our kids, our grandkids. Use this system for generations for banking. You can have them play games like Cash Flow for Kids. You can help each generation of George be better than your generation, whether that generation is 18 or 75 or anywhere in between. They can all participate. So train them, teach them, let them test. Goes back to Taekwondo. Let them test, pass it on, train, teach, test. Start earlier. If you're not early, start now. I talked to someone 57, thought he was too old today. Start. Find out. You can do this. You got to believe, though. It's like Henry Ford said, you either think you can't or you think you can't or you think you can. And either way, you're going to be right. So identify your quarter. Where are you in the game? Pre-game, fourth quarter, first quarter, second, halftime. Where are you? It's not too late to start. How much do you make? How much insurability do you have? How much current insurance do you have on your body? But let's just change the one thing. Paying ourselves first. Is it really that much of a struggle to love ourselves a little bit more? If you give yourself more love, how do you think those around you are going to feel? How do you think those around you are going to feel if you give yourself a little bit more love? So now we're coming to the close of another 6 generations of George. Now that you understand where you're at in the game of life, since it's a game, what game could be more fun than one that gives you guarantees and control? Now that I say it out loud, it doesn't sound like that much of a fun game at all. But on the other side, who wants to gamble with their money and not know the outcome? Controlling your financial future is about controlling your money, building a foundation with guarantees built on hundreds of years of consistent, persistent results. You know where you're at today. You know where you're at with your maximum insurability. You know how much you are earning, gross income. You know how much you're spending, how much you're paying yourself. All you have to do is get approved, become a partner, and change the one thing. Get on the field and take action. Remember, you have to want this financial freedom as bad as you want to breathe. Thank you to hip hop preacher Eric T for that one, for that frame. You've given me again your most precious resource, your focus, and I am grateful to serve you. You have my information right here. You can scan it, book a call with me if you're ready to get started. If you're not, reach out to me and I'll help get you more information. But now the choice is either to get off the sidelines, stay on the sidelines, keep training, or remain a spectator in the stands cheering for everyone else who is reaching the dreams that you dream of. So subscribe if you're new. Smash the like button. Ring the bell. It might just turn blue to be alerted to new content to help you keep learning how you can take back control of your money and become your own banker. Invite others. As I always say, you will be their biggest blessing. Invite them to the infinite banking bus. Plenty of room. Plenty of room. And I know you're going to be the biggest blessing to that individual, that person. Remember, this is a process, a skill, a mindset more than the numbers. If you don't know something, give yourself permission. You just don't know it yet. As always, thank you for your time, giving me your most valuable asset. I do not underestimate your attention, your time, your focus, your energy. I'm truly blessed. I'll see you guys in the next video. And all of you, I'll see you next week. Be blessed.